Alright, welcome back guys. Today we're going to be doing a video about this red dot right here. So, I actually had two of these sent to me, and hopefully this will focus. I actually had two of these sent to me. It's made by this company right here. I don't know if it's called Gowutar or if it's pronounced differently, but that's just how I'm going to pronounce it. It might be something else. But this is a competitive option on the market, and I was looking for something that's kind of, under $200, because most of the options out there that are what I would call well-known qualities, red dots, kind of like Holosun or Triticon RMRs or Delta Point Pros, stuff like that, they're all going to be at least $300 or more, and there's no real options out there that are between the $100 and $200 range that are all that great, at least from what I've seen. There's definitely not sub $100 ones that work, but there's a few that I've come across over the past couple of months. I've just kind of been, coming across them on Amazon and looking at them. There's a bunch around the $150 to $175 range. I recently reviewed the UTG red dot that I ended up putting on one of my rifles, and for around $120, it was actually a pretty good option. And again, if you hear baby noise in the background, he's sick today, so he's gonna be making some noises. But I was actually contacted by this company, and they asked if there was anything I was interested that they made for review. And most of the stuff they made was around $150. So I was like, okay, well, that's in that price range I've been looking at. But they didn't have anything that necessarily, jumped out at me that I was just, really wanting to review. So I kind of looked through their website, and I came across this one right here that actually has... There he is in the background. That actually has a couple of reticle options. Let me change the reticle here. There it goes. All right, so it has three different options, as you just saw. There's a dot, there's a just a circle, and then there's a circle with a dot. Now, this may not be super groundbreaking when it comes to just reticle designs, but it is groundbreaking, at least in my opinion, when it comes to pistol red dots. Now, the reason I say it's groundbreaking is because the only company I know of that's making different reticle options is Holosun, and they're using the different ACSS reticles that are out there, with the giant circle and the chevron and other different stuff like that, and they have the circle dot option. But something that I absolutely hated about the Holosun, which I just have a representation here. This is not their the actual circle dot version. This is just one to compare it to. But this is actually one of the models that Palmetto Set Armory, I guess, had made specifically for them, where it doesn't have the solar panel on top, so it makes it cheaper. I think I got this on a Black Friday for like $180. But anyway, so this puts these in the same kind of ballpark price range. But the reason why I like the reticle on this one is, again, as you see it on here, and I'll show you some range footage of what it looks like. The Holosun, their circle with a dot is, I think, a 30 or a 32 MOA circle, like the giant ring that goes around the reticle on there, versus this one is a 62, if I remember right. If not, I'll annotate it down below.
All right, so I'm just going to be transitioning from target to target to target. I'm about 10 yards away. Just to kind of show you how fast you can transition with this thing, because it's nice. Now you could argue you can do the same thing with a red dot, and honestly, training will trump most things. But if you like an Eotech reticle on a rifle because of just how fast it seems to you when you're aiming and moving from target to target, you're gonna like this thing. The big giant circle, just put the circle on the target, pull the trigger. As long as it's on the circle, you're gonna hit, and then you have that precise aiming dot if you want. I don't really see a use for just the ring itself. Maybe for a shotgun, if yours patterns perfectly to that size ring. I don't know. I prefer an aiming or a precise aiming point. But I'll just do some quick. I'm hitting that, but it's very holy down there. This is why I buy my own steel targets, because these things have been shot by doofuses with rifles. Say that reticle, as long as you have good muzzle control whenever you're firing, it stays in this window. So this window is a good size. As I'm firing, it just comes up and it just kind of dances up and down, straight up and down. And when you're doing that, as I'm firing, it's basically bouncing up to about where the head is. I just pull it back on target. I really like this reticle. In case you can't tell, I want to like this sight a lot, and I do like it a lot, but with some caveats. I don't necessarily trust it in the rain just because of the way that the emitter down here is open to all the electronics. I think that's what killed the first one. But anyways, you can kind of see how fast you can fire with this thing. Now you can argue you can shoot just as fast with a red dot, but I feel more confident shooting with this reticle than I do with a red dot. Like on my, well, I don't have it with me. I'm carrying my wife's gun right now. But on my Glock 19, I have a Holosun. It's the ACCS reticle, whatever it's called, the Vulcan, I think. It's just got the chevron. And that actually, it gives me a little bit more confidence that it's a dot because it's a little bit bigger. But I like this more. And then I have another Holosun that just has a standard dot that I normally keep on this gun. And I can fire faster with the Vulcan than I can the dot. I can fire faster with this than I can the Vulcan. So, for what it's worth. This will give you a pretty good idea of what it looks like looking through the reticle. Hopefully you can see that. And it's not getting fuzzy. I apologize, the sun is directly in my eye. And on this screen, there we go, now I can see. So, it is much brighter in person.
All right, and so why the circle reticle size matters is because if you've shot the Holosun before, you'll notice that whenever you aim at a distance, and again, this is just obviously a different reticle, but it'll kind of give you an idea. So just imagine that circle being half the size it is, which pretty much at up close distances, far away distances, really doesn't matter. It covers up pretty much the entire target. It might as well just be a giant circle or a giant, 32 MOA dot on the Holosun. And I thought I would like the Holosun whenever I picked one up and kind of play with it. I was like, oh, this is very Eotech-ish. And so I thought I would like it. Well, whenever you hold the gun, far away from your face with your arms extended, it pretty much just covers up your target and you can't really see what you're shooting at. On a rifle or something, it might be better. I don't know. I'd never tried one on a rifle. I just played around with one of my buddies. And I absolutely hated it. And I thought I would like it, which made me very sad. So whenever I saw that this company made one with an Eotech style reticle, and again, you can see it right there. And I'll show you at the range again what it looks like as well. But whenever I saw that they made one with that reticle, and I saw that it was twice the size of the Holosun, I was extremely interested because this is the style of reticle I've always wanted Holosun or someone else to make, because I'm a huge fan of Eotechs and their reticles because they're just very fast, they're intuitive. It's by far my favorite reticle design that I've used on any optic. And maybe I'm biased, that's fine, but this is the only one that I know of that makes a reticle that's actually this size, and I don't understand why, because this size reticle is absolutely perfect when it comes to a pistol.
And I like this optic, mainly because of the reticle. I wish other companies would make a reticle similar to this one. Holosun makes one that's it's similar, but it's smaller. This one has a larger ring. Again, this one reminds me of an Eotech. So if you're used to, because I can put this in here. If you're used to shooting like a rifle with an Eotech on it, the Eotech is somewhere around here. This is out a little bit further. So I think the ring is actually bigger than an Eotech's ring. I'll have to look this up later to confirm it. But at the distance it's at, it looks just like an Eotech would on your rifle at that distance when you're shouldered.
So I have somewhere between 300 and 350 rounds of ammo through this gun with these optics on here. This is the first optic that they sent me, and I had problems with this one, and I wasn't sure if it was because of water or if I just got a lemon or what it was. But I'll show you footage here where this one, again, we were shooting out in the rain, but whenever we were shooting, the reticle was turning off. And we weren't out there all that long before it turned off. And I thought maybe whenever I was racking the slide, I hit the button and turned it off on accident or something like that. But then it turned off a couple other times. I was like, okay, well, that's not good. So I did a durability test where I racked it off my truck bed on the tailgate, and it turned off. And so I was like, okay, well, we need to get this on footage. And the footage that you see is actually the second time we did it where it stayed on, but then I saw it physically turn off. I looked at it, I saw the reticle, and then it just turned itself off. So that told me that either one, water was affecting it, because again, it was pretty substantial rain that day, or there was just, problems with the internals, the electronics or something.
All right, so it's on right now. Can you see the reticle at all?
Yes.
Okay. So you see this on. So if I'm just racking it lightly, trying not to be super hard on it. Okay, it's still on. Still on. Still on. Oh, it just turned itself off. I saw it turn. So it's off right now.
Yeah.
So something internally, because whenever I looked at it, it was on for a split second, and then I saw it shut off. So I don't know what's doing that, but something on the inside is doing that. But that turned itself off, and it was doing that while we were shooting too.
All right, so let me kind of show you why I thought the rain was the issue. So you can see down in there, hopefully it's not too bright, you can see the emitter lens, and then that little like orange thing down there is actually the internals. That looks like a power strip or something that's down there. But there's basically an opening that goes down into the bottom of this thing. And I thought maybe like there was supposed to be a plug or something down there, but it's not. The second one is the same. And so water just goes right into the body of the optic. Now maybe it drains out the bottom. I don't know. Maybe that's left open so it can evaporate out of there. I don't know. But it is waterproof. At least so the company claims, which turned out to be true with that one over there, which I'll talk about. But once I saw that, I was like, okay, maybe that's why, because rain got in there, maybe it got stuff wet. But I just had problems with it. So I told the company, and I also gave them some other suggestions, like I think the screws it comes with for that type of slide, the Brownhill slide. If you're familiar with this, it's the Zev style cut where it uses thinner screws that go down in because there's actually posts that pop up. It's not a traditional RMR cut, but they do, to their credit, include screws that fit this slide as well as traditional RMR cut slides, or adapter plates. So kudos to them for doing that. But I contacted them. They said, yeah, that's not normal. It should be waterproof. So they sent another one out, which is this one right here. And so I took this one out, and the first thing I did, so we know the focus. So the first thing I did on this one. There it goes. So the first thing I did on this one was submerge it. So I'll insert that here so you can kind of see the water test. This is the first one that I shot out in the rain, and it had issues turning on and off on its own. Ever since then, since it dried out, the auto on and off doesn't work. The auto on technically does, but you have to like shake the thing violently to get it to turn on whenever it does turn off. But it hasn't turned off in like 3 days. So I think the auto off function finally stopped working. I have no idea if the auto on function would start working again if I manually turned it off. But anyway, so I just thought I would mention that. This is the first one, just so you don't think I am shilling for the company and I'm doing an honest test. Now this one is the second one they sent out, and this one never had any of those flickering problems whenever, or shutting off on its own, I guess I should say. So this one was pretty reliable. Now, to see whether or not this one was just a lemon all around, or if water got in there and that was a problem. Now, I don't know if you can see down in there. Maybe you can. Hopefully this will focus on this. So I don't know if you can see down in there or not, but the electronics right at the bottom of that ramp are actually exposed. The emitter is obviously behind glass, but there's just basically a hole that drops down into the internals of this. They say it's waterproof, which, I mean, it might be waterproof even with that hole, but I would honestly prefer that to be solid right there. There might be a reason for that being there. I don't know. I didn't have a single problem with the second one that they gave to me, and so I'm assuming the water was the issue. Now, if this one goes through the water and doesn't have any of the same problems, then that one was just a lemon, and that you get that sometimes. So without further ado, I'm just going to plop this in there, and you can see it is working. There's the emitter. It looks a little weird on camera, but that's the emitter. And I'll fish this out of here. And just so you can see, water got in, all of that. Give it a little shake, see some bubbles come up. All right. Shake out the water, give it a fair shake. Now, one thing you will notice, and I noticed this in the rain too, see that the reticle on there is like all squished, and that's because there's water. I don't know if you can see it down in there. There's water on the lens. Yeah, you can see it right there. It's like pooled up on there. So let me shake it out. See if I can get... All right, there's still water on there. And this is going to be a problem with any open emitter red dot. You can see the emitter on here is working fine now. I had to take a Q-tip and just dry off the lens down there which is going to be true of just about any emitter. One thing I would like to see is a drainage hole or something down here on either side. Holosuns, if you can see on here, have something similar. You can see a little drainage hole right there. And they have another one. Another one right there. So that's something that I like about Holosun. And this one, it appears, just drains down into the body, and maybe it comes out the bottom down here. I don't know. So I did the water test. I dunked it in a cup of water and kind of shook it around, made sure water got in there. And water did get in there. I could, whenever I would take this and kind of sling it around, water would come out. So water does get inside here. And then I took it once I got it working again, which it worked just fine after that water test. To verify, I went and took it and ran it underneath the sink and ensured that that entire body got filled with water, which it did. And I shook it all out and still worked just fine. And a couple days later, it's still working fine. The auto on-off feature is still working okay. I haven't had any problems with it. And I've shot this one, I think I have about 250 rounds through. That one I only shot about 100 rounds through. So, but again, combined around 350 rounds, something like that. But since this one has not had any problems with water or with recoil, and again, I did a durability test on this one as well, which I'll show at some point, but I did tape up the front because that's another negative I'll kind of go over, and you can see it on here. Hopefully you can see that. The lens is just scratched just a little bit right there. Now, it's not bad, but it's just because this lens, you may not be able to see it on here, but the lens sticks out ever so slightly at the bottom past the rim. Now, is that a big deal? Not really, because you're only going to be racking off hard surfaces, in an emergency where one hand's injured or something like that. So I don't see that as a big deal, but it is a thing. So just know that. All right, you're just going to hear gunshots in the background. So what I did, again, you can see the optic, same one. What I did was I covered it up with painter's tape and then a couple layers of electrical tape. And that is simply just to protect the lens, because as I've discussed before, and you'll see on the first one whenever I show you that video, the lens sticks out just slightly farther than the protective hood, so the lens is going to get scuffed a little bit against this. Now granted, I mean, you can see where I've actually taken out chunks of my tailgate, and that's from doing this. All this is there to do is to protect the glass itself. It's still going to get the same forces. If you think a couple layers of tape are going to do anything to protect the actually internals, like, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so let's go ahead and rack it a few times. And there goes the electrical tape. Put it back on. There goes the electrical tape the rest of the way. All right, so I feel like that's pretty good. Let me go ahead and see what it looks like. Well, protected the lens, so that's a plus. All right, let's go see if it lost zero. All right, let's see if it held zero. I'm at, I don't know, this might be 7 to 10 yards, somewhere in there. It's a little bit farther back than I was shooting earlier. I'm shooting Wolf steel case now. It's still 115 grain. Earlier I sighted in technically with Tula, so if that matters to you, there might be a slight variation, but overall should be the same. By the way, if you're looking for some good range pants, LA Police Gear makes good ones. I'm not the type of person that will wear these out in public, mainly because my wife doesn't like how they look. So, and if you're married, you'll know you should dress to impress your spouse. Hey, there goes. Finally moved it back. My bullet is going. It's nicking the plate and it's going just underneath it. I keep forgetting that I'm using the Eotech reticle on here, but I have it sighted in at 25 yards. So on that little swinger, it's actually going just underneath it whenever I aim. So I actually have to use the bottom of the reticle at this distance, and I keep forgetting I'm actually centering the dot. So that's me, it's not the optic. I'll go ahead and drop this on concrete and just kind of see what it does. Obviously this is not attached to a gun, so that would be more weight, more force, but this is kind of is what it is. I'm going to be dropping it from my height, which is about 6 foot. And hopefully you see it on camera. I'm going to try to drop it hood down to kind of give it the best choice, and then I'll kind of drop it around, or best chance. Then I'll drop it around different areas, see what it does. So this is from my head height. Not sure if you can see it or not. It hit front impact. Looks like, at least that's what it looked like on here. I don't remember that being there before, or it could have hit right here. Anyways, it bounced around and it's still on. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yep, still on. All right, let's drop it again. Head height. That was a good solid hit. Still working, but I did crack the glass. So it hit right here on the corner, and you can see it cracked the glass just a little bit. It's down in the corner, so it still works, but it cracked the glass. Let's drop it again. From head height. Hit kind of the same area again. Hit right here. Still working. Let's drop it one more time. That one kind of hit the emitter. You can see that one. I don't know if it hit here or here, but one of those two spots. Still working. And let's do one more. I'm going to drop it, try to face down, see what that does. It's a good solid hit. That one looks like it hit right here. I'm going to try to drop it one more time. All right. Still working. All right, I'm going to try to break this. As you can tell, it's on right there. So it's still on. You can see the reticle. I'm just going to throw it down onto the concrete pretty hard and see what happens. Well, nothing else cracked. Optic is still on. Nothing else cracked. Let's do it again. Man, that sucker bounced. It's still working. Still on. Let's do it one more time. Alright, and so you just saw me throw it on the ground a bunch of different times. Now, I believe it lost 0 whenever I threw it against the ground. Whenever I was dropping it, it seemed to retain 0 just fine, but whenever I was looking through here after just chucking it against the ground, again, that's on concrete blocks, so I mean, that's no easy test. The reticle did move up. So it still adjusts, it still clicks, so you could easily move it back. I don't expect any optic to be thrown against concrete to honestly hold 0 unless you're, paying high money. So for something under $200, I'm more than happy with that because all the drops didn't make it lose 0. It was throwing it against it. So, and just so you can kind of see the damage up close. It hit the corners a lot. It hit the hood a lot. It hit the face a lot. Surprisingly, the glass didn't get messed up any further than it already did, so there's something. The glass did crack down the bottom left corner, but I wasn't able to get it to crack anywhere else. So for what it's worth, it seems incredibly durable, especially for the price. The battery compartment is on the top, as you can tell, so it's very Delta Point Pro-ish, in kind of design. The buttons are on the side, and they're protected enough where you're not going to easily accidentally activate them. At least I didn't. And I was not, gentle with this thing. The detents for up and down, they have nice audible clicks. It works just fine. I didn't have any loss of 0. And again, I shot 350 rounds. Worked just fine. If an optic is going to lose 0, it's going to lose 0 probably within the first 50 rounds or so. That's been my experience with budget optics. So again, here's the model for this, in case you're curious. Here's all the things it has. It does have the Shake Awake technology. And one thing I like about this company, their Shake Awake is every 4 minutes it turns itself off. Holosun, I want to say, is like 10 or somewhere around there. So, which most of the time, like, if you set down a gun, it's going to be sitting there for hours. So it might as well turn off after a minute, if you ask me. But that's just kind of what they decided to do is 4 minutes. So the battery life, I think, is like 50,000 hours or something like that. It's probably on the lowest setting, with the auto on-off feature working or something. I don't know. I've had this one on the entire time I've had it, and it stayed on because the auto on-off feature on it stopped working, which I think is why this thing stopped working to begin with. I think there was just some sort of fault with the electronics or something on the inside, because it just stays on all the time now and it doesn't turn off, which honestly I'm fine with. So it has a 1 MOA adjustments, which is fine for a pistol. You can mount this on a rifle if you wanted to. 10 brightness settings, 8 daytime. It has 2 night vision settings. It is waterproof, shockproof, and fogproof. Again, I think this one was just a lemon. And that's one thing too. They do have a good warranty. If yours breaks or has any problems, just let them know. They'll give you a new one or give you your money back. So I don't have a problem with that. The box comes with your normal stuff. It does come with this little plastic cover. which kind of, can protect the optic. So that's kind of nice if you're worried about keeping your guns from getting scratched. It also comes with a little Picatinny rail mount right here and screws for it, which I just threaded back in there. One other criticism I did have is the screws for this that go with the Zev style cuts or the Brownell cuts. They're a little short, so they just barely stick out through here, which the post on the slide actually sticks up and goes into this. So it does get engagement, but it only gives you about 1.5 turns on your torque screw, which to me isn't enough. So I did suggest that they include another set of the skinny screws that are longer. And then for stuff like Glocks, where one screw, it's this one right here. So if you're not familiar with Glocks, whenever you do an RMR cut, the screw right here, sorry, I guess I could put this on camera, the screw right here, the channel actually goes down into the extractor plunger through here, and if the screw's too long, it'll actually put tension on that plunger, and then your extractor won't work right. So most companies include shorter screws for that, but you can use a long screw on this side. So that's generally what I do with my optics, is I use the longer screw on this side and the shorter screw on this side. At least that's what I do with the Holosun, because they include 2 different length screws. So that's something I would suggest that Gowutar do with their optics. They make other optics. I haven't reviewed any of those, but I imagine based on this, they're probably fine. But you can see here's kind of all the different screws it comes with. It comes with different ones, diameters, and it comes with 3 different sets. So you will most likely have a screw that will fit your specific slide or adapter plate. So the question is, what would I use this optic for, or would I suggest you buy this one? So for the price, again, and my camera will focus, for the price, I honestly think this is probably my favorite red dot for pistols. And I know some of you are going to be rolling your eyes right now, but I actually really like this. And one of my buddies who shot this as well really liked the reticle on there, and he's an Eotech fan as well. So if you love the Eotech style reticle, I think you're going to absolutely love this optic. I love this optic so much, I'm actually going to replace my Holosun. This is the older model that has a battery on the bottom, but normally I have this mounted on here, and this is kind of like my home defense setup. It's also kind of a test bed for all my different stuff. But I actually like it enough where I'm going to leave it on here because I like this optic enough, and I've used it enough now where I trust it. So I've been pretty rough with this thing, and I have not had any problems. So from a durability standpoint, I'm fine with it. And since I know this one, well, if it'll stay up, since I know this one is waterproof and it doesn't have any issues, again, this one is just a lemon, I actually have full confidence that it'll work just fine. And I'll keep shooting it every time I go to the range, and if I have any problems with it, down the road, I'll let y'all know. But so far, I would highly suggest getting this if you like the Eotech reticle. If you're fine with just a standard dot, like on a Holosun, then there's no reason to get this. You get a Holosun and have a better track record, and these are known for durability. The lens is not exposed, doesn't stick out. So would I suggest this for like duty use? No, I would not suggest, like, if you're a law enforcement officer or even for concealed carry, you would probably be fine for concealed carry with this on there. But for something that's going to be, kind of high wear and high tear, maybe go with something a little bit nicer than this. But as a home defense or a range option, or something that's going to be getting light use, I mean, absolutely I would suggest this. Also, a nice thing, these are regular standard height sights, and you can tell this optic is low enough where you can actually still co-witness just fine. So that's a plus. They do have a cutout right here, so you can actually see through here, so good on them. If y'all have any questions about this optic, let me know. Again, I try to be as completely honest as I possibly can. I'm going to be biased because I'm human, but I try to be as transparent as I can with everything. That's pretty much all the negatives and the positives and everything I can think of. But again, I absolutely love this optic simply because of reticle. If other companies made that reticle, maybe there would be other better options out there. But since I can't find any, I think this is probably the best option for people who want a Eotech style reticle on their pistol. But anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a good one.